you know. And so, but I'm glad you could make it. I'm glad you can take a lot of back, you know, to the house, because otherwise she would have to stay down here until the rest of the day.
It's Millard Fuller.
Huh?
So that's Millard Fuller, the founder of the Fuller Center.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And so they got everything up. And so they're going to have first few minutes, we're going to deal with you, you know, background, education, and experiences. And then we're going to show that and give you an opportunity.
Y'all want to hear these videos as well?
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's only one video. That's in the segment one part. And then the rest are still photos.
The rest are still photos.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want audio from that video?
We could do that because it kind of explains what the Fuller Center is about. So I guess I'll start off kind of talking about who I am, and then about the Fuller Center bike adventure, and then you could play the video then because it explains you know, exactly what the bike adventure is all about, and then I'll talk about, you know, the rest of the stuff under.
We had some ideas and tried working on various things, and then at one point I made a suggestion to him on a single sheet of paper and showed it to him, had at the top Fuller Center bicycle adventure, and he looked at it, read through the proposal, and said, you know, my favorite word on this sheet of paper is the word annual. And so we've been doing the rides ever since. That was in 2008 was our first ride. And then we went to San Diego, California.
I mean, well, will it play on
we had
air?
just 8 of us
Here in the whole
across
thing?
the country.
If it will, then.
I mean, we can play the whole thing. That's pretty much going to take up most of that first segment.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that is a big part of.
Yeah.
We won't play the whole thing.
Yeah. That's why we wanted to have that 6 minutes. And we're going to play the whole thing during this first segment after I introduce him. And then I'll say, let's look at the video after that, and then we can switch to the video for the rest of that segment. So you open that first segment with me, introducing the two of us. And then I'll make some statements, and he'll make some statements, and then I'll say, let's watch the video. Yeah. And then we click the video on to go for the next 6 minutes, you see. And then he'll be making comments in reference to the video when it's appropriate, He's got a plan to talk to you. He'll introduce, what's your name again? I'm sorry.
Alvin.
He'll introduce Alvin will introduce the stuff, and then Haney will talk to you.
And don't switch that chair. Make that chair move.
Well, and will I be able to watch it there? Then?
Yeah, you just watch it at any of them.
You said at number 6.
Yeah, you
you told me to turn right
yeah,
there.
well, you just, don't. Nah.
So I can watch on too.
Hey, Dr. Haney, since it's about a 3-minute video.
Okay.
So if we get 2 minutes into the top of the segment and we haven't tossed to it, I'm gonna give you I'll do this. Say toss to the video. So we can get it in there, play the whole thing. Then we got about a minute to come out to y'all to wrap it up.
Oh,
we go to commercial break.
and that's right. Well, that sounds good. You just let me know when you're coming in. Sure. Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is summer cycling adventure, And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about summer cycling adventure, Alvin Haney. Alvin Haney is a teacher at Meg's Magnet School, and he has a lot of information in reference to his summer adventure, riding a bicycle all over many, many places. AJ, let's see if we can have you to make some statements in reference about some of the things that you've been involved with.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to come along to the show again this year. As a school teacher, we have the summers off, so I spend most of my summers enjoying, the free time and not having to educate, but I also like to do a lot of bicycling. I call myself an endurance cyclist, and in cycling, I like to go out and, do lots of miles. Where a typical person on a Sunday evening may go and do 5 to 10 miles, I want to go do 80 or 90 miles. So I found myself in the situation where I'm looking for bigger and bigger adventures to participate in. Okay,
and so I think that what we'll do, we'll look at some of those, some of your activities in reference to that.
One of the groups that I do participate with is the Fuller Center Bike Adventure. And I think the video is explaining what the Fuller Center is all about, why they have the bike adventure, and it'll kind of let you know one of the things I was involved in.
Okay, they're going to run that now.
My name is Ryan Eifield. 9 years ago, God led me to come join the Fuller Center for Housing as a volunteer straight out of college. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do there, but I had the charge given by Millard Fuller, the founder of the organization. He asked me to try to help get the next generation involved. So we had some ideas and we tried working on various things. And then at one point I made a suggestion to him on a single sheet of paper and showed it to him, had at the top Fuller Center Bicycle Adventure. And he looked at it, read through the proposal, and said, my favorite word on this sheet of paper is the word annual. And so we've been doing the rides ever since. That was in 2008 was our first ride. And that year we went from San Diego, California to Savannah, Georgia. We had just 8 of us go across the country. We stopped and worked on various Fuller Center build sites. As usual, we also had different segment riders who joined us as we went. But the idea that we had that very first year is exactly what we still do with Fuller Center Bicycle Adventure today. It's just on a larger scale. It's been growing and growing. It's been terribly exciting. So today we have about 35 riders who are crossing the country. It's actually so many we had to break into 2 rides. We have 35 going the whole way and about another 60 who are doing 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 1 week, different segments along the way, break it up into week-long segments, just to give everyone an opportunity to join. And all of us who are part of the journey stop and we just stay in churches along the way. We live very simply, but we live very fine. It's very, very good. We get to meet lots of people in communities. We speak to churches. We get opportunities to share about what we're doing, why we're doing it. And then, whenever possible, we stop at a Fuller Center for Housing project along the way, lend our own hands, whether it's hammering nails or painting or laying a roof or cleaning the yard, whatever we're doing, contributing to the work of the Fuller Center for Housing. And so today, it's a tremendous opportunity for people to get involved with the work that we do. It's a little tour de Fuller of visiting Fuller Center projects across the United States, and a great way to raise support for all the work and donations of people who we meet, but also those who the riders already know, their family and friends and their home churches, and their co-workers, whoever chooses to support it. We invite you to come get involved with what we're doing. Come ride with us. As we say, ride a bike or ride a check. Either way, come get involved, take some action, do something with the Fuller Center for Housing.
Washington to Washington! Hooray!
Now, this gives us an opportunity during the second segment to talk about some more of those activities that you are involved in. But this is something that you've been involved with for many, many years. Is it not, AJ?
Yes, it is. This is my 5th year with the Fuller Center. As you see, I participated in just a part of the bike adventure this year. Last year I was able to go coast to coast, to go from California to Maine, and so I chose to only do 2 weeks this year with them. Another part of the things that I did this summer was to make sure that I covered as many states as I could. You know, after achieving the goal of going cross country, my next goal is to cycle in all 50 states. So I was able to ride with the Fuller Center. I was able to ride my bike, you know, before the Fuller Center adventure and after, to try to cover as many states as I could.
Okay, and so what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll start with the second segment. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. On the from the video, and so this is the second video we're going to come up back up now. What
So they're going to show the pictures while we're...
Right. So do you want to run through all the pictures all at once?
I don't know. With the timing, I mean, I basically just go through all the states. I have, I think, one picture for each state, kind of talking about the states that I traveled through. And I guess if you, well, I don't know how, whatever you think is best, you know, where we could show the picture and I could, you know, say, well, that's where I was in so-and-so or this and that, or, you know, lots of state lines.
What might be easiest for us is to pop the pictures up. You'll see them on the
Right,
screens right
right.
over here, and you can talk about
Right.
what that is, and then we'll go to the next one.
Right,
And you can talk about
right,
that.
right. Okay.
So it'd be easier for us to pop them up, and you follow along with it than
Right.
you try to talk
Right,
about it and
right,
try to pop it up.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
good.
That's
Well, that's
fine.
good.
That's fine.
And so what I'll do during the second segment is just introduce the second segment, and then you'll start.
Right.
Well,
27.
I guess you can tell us, you know, y'all can pretty much say, I've got some pictures.
Yeah.
pop up.
Yeah, I want to.
Okay, good. I'll welcome them back to the show and give them the topic, and then we'll say that something about the pictures that we have available, and let's look at watch some of the pictures, and then you look at that, and as they pop up, you explain them. Yeah, this is working. I didn't know how we're going to do it. I knew I want that drive. Don't leave here with that. You understand that?
Well, I never did get it back last time.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I know. I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get it from them. You get it from them in case they need it for the rest of the day, and then when you leave.
What you call this? Bicycling adventures.
Summer cycling adventure.
Summer cycling adventures. And this is where we're going to bring up the idea that you got some pictures that you might want to show, and then they're going to start.
Well, just say, tell me a little bit more about, you know, what you did this summer. And then I'll start it off with where I started, and I'll say, we'll go to the pictures, and they'll pop them up. I should be able to tell what state I'm in.
When you go out there, you tell the folks that we'll be with them after a while. Pastor Walker's out there. I think he's out there, and him and the men in uniform. That's, you know, they didn't come to arrest anybody. He brought them with him. We're going to talk about community policing, whatever. Summer cycling adventures.
Take a minute to get the pictures downloaded.
Now, we'll have 8 minutes for this segment. You see, however, they cut it up there. And then we'll come back to that final segment. Now, you're doing the pictures on this segment. Now, what are you going to do on that?
There's more pictures.
Good, that's good. And so the way we were able to weave this into what we're doing now, you see what we're doing? You see how it's, I mean, we're getting the audio. I don't know. See, you know. So you know the audio that you had. And so we were picking that audio up when we, okay, good. Gotta try to get out of here. We don't run out of time here. I will be loading all of them at the same time here. All right?
We're still waiting on him getting all the pictures together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You gotta download them from the thumb drive to the computer and then set them up in the slideshow, so.
Mm-hmm. Will we be able to run all of those on through the rest of the show? Uh-huh. Yeah, that'll be good. these other shows lining up here. So I get out of this one, go into here, and then by that time we can pick up some time here on Dr. Baldwin's show. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alvin Haney, and he's giving us some information in reference to cycling during the summer. And he's already given us some information in reference to the reason that he became involved with what he's doing. Let's pick up at this point, AJ, and let's see if we can watch some of the images that you have. I think that
like I said, the second goal that I had was definitely to make sure that I cycled in as many states as I could this summer. I was able to cycle in 19 different states, which was 13 new ones to me, and kind of took some images along the way. A lot of them I tried to find the state line sign, trying to find out where it says welcome to whatever state that you're in, and that ended up being quite a task itself. But again, I did bring along some images, and I can share those with you as well.
Okay, I think we're making preparation for those.
Okay, so Montana was one of the states that I traveled in with the Fuller Center Bike Adventure. We were able to start in Seattle, Washington, and go across Washington to Montana, and stopping in, and also through Idaho and stopping in Yellowstone Park in Montana. So that was when I found that state line sign. Idaho, again, that was before Washington. We got a chance to stay in Kellogg, Idaho, with one of the Fuller Center Covenant partners there, and that is one of the pictures there. There I'm on the Coeur d'Alene Trail, which is one of the nicer bike trails that they have in Idaho. It's a 54-mile trail. We had to do a lot of climbing on our bicycles. We had to go up a lot of mountain passes, and this is going up Stevens Pass on a very cold morning in the state of Washington. The climbing aspect of cycling is not something I'm very good at, but I'm learning to love it. This was our starting day in Washington, Seattle, Washington, kind of overlooking the landmarks there and starting there at the ocean in Seattle. They are actually traveling from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C. And as I said, I chose to only do 2 weeks with them. Getting out to Washington State, of course, I had to go through a few states. I had to travel through Oregon, so stopped in Eugene, Oregon. I had to stop in Sacramento, California, and I did some cycling there. It was another state that I was able to cover. I went through Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is one of the landmarks in Las Vegas as I cycled with one of the local clubs there. Of course, had to go through Arizona, and was able to stay with some family members as well, traveling through Arizona, through New Mexico, had to cross there. There is Oklahoma City, I believe, or Albuquerque, yeah, Albuquerque, New Mexico, I believe, is that particular image at one of the parks there. Went through Dallas, Texas, so was able to stay in one of the suburbs of Dallas and do some riding as well. This one is in Louisiana, which was the first state that I stopped in, and at one of the parks there in Louisiana.
And so in a real sense, AJ, all of this information is, you've done this for how many years have you been involved in
Well,
this?
I've been involved with cycling since 2009. Got really serious about it about 2011 or 12. And at that time, I, just started setting some goals. I want to do a 100-mile ride. I was able to do that. And then I want to, travel from, one state to another, and was able to do that. And so it just kind of grew out of, a love of cycling, of staying fit, and and I found a way to use that to also help people. So with the Fuller Center, I'm able to use the donations that are raised to help different families, which is part of the mission of the Fuller Center, to raise money to help families with their housing so that everybody has a safe place to live. The second thing that I raised donations for this year was also the Alumni Association at Tennessee State University. I am a graduate of Tennessee State University, and our fraternity chapter, Alpha Phi Alpha, and the BO Alumni Association also put on a bike ride, and they've been doing that since 1989. They put on a bike ride where we ride our bikes from Nashville to Memphis, and we do that every September. That is also a charity ride, so we raise funds to do that. So instead of, I guess, asking my generous donors to contribute more than one time per year, I just kind of lumped them both together. So I was able to raise enough money to participate with the Fuller Center, and also to give funds to the Alumni Association, which will go to some deserving college students over at Tennessee State University.
And so you've been involved with charitable work as well as part of your strengthening program, I would imagine, in terms of bicycles. And now, how many people actually rode with you this time?
Well, I kind of broke it into three segments. The first segment was actually driving my car from Nashville to Seattle. So that was on my own, going through all the states that we just saw, and getting to Seattle. Once I got to Seattle and with the Fuller Center, and I think he explained in the video, there were 30+ people who were going all the way from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C. And I participated in the first 2 weeks of that, which, was the one that had really the most participation throughout all the segments that they're going to do. They break it into 9 one-week segments. So I did segments 1 and segments 2, going from Washington and then going into Idaho, and then the second week going from Idaho and into West Yellowstone, Montana. So approximately, 30+ people who are going the whole way, but at any point during any week of the segment, there could be 40 or 50 people with them.
And so people become involved with this, and it plays a very, very important part in what you call charitable work that the Fuller Center does.
Right.
I understand that you need funds in order to keep this activity going and
Yes,
in order
definitely.
to support this. Talk about that fundraising aspect
The
of it.
donations go towards the national organization, the National Fuller Center for Housing, but there's also a local organization. We do have the Middle Tennessee, what we call a covenant partner, which is one of the local chapters. So the Middle Tennessee Fuller Center for Housing is where all my donations went. Each cyclist gets to allocate the funds to whichever local organization they would want to. So with there being covenant partners all over the country, of course I chose the one that most affected me and back at home. And so I'm able to raise money for them. It goes towards the local organization, and then the local organization seeks applicants who need a hand and need help with their housing.
And so it serves a real purpose in terms of bringing people together and giving an idea in terms of how things you might be able to achieve certain things. And what we're going to do, we're going to take this second commercial break, and then we're going to come back and allow you to further elaborate upon some of these things. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. And so we can go right into this.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna give you a 2-minute break. And then
Okay, then that sounds good.
just remember to try to keep your body turned towards the camera, because you got
Towards that camera?
straight on Mr. Haney.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
got it.
You got it. So you're picking up everything.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't know how this would work. Now, this final segment will have those pictures, but for me to open it up, what do you want to talk about specifically? I mean, in addition to the pictures.
Just open up with that there's three parts. So tell us about, you know, the third part of your mission, because we already got me driving to Seattle, what I did from Seattle to Yellowstone, and then just say, you know, well, tell me about the third part of your bicycle adventure.
Which is what? What do you call it?
Which is basically just driving from Montana, getting from Montana and back home. Montana and back home.
30 seconds.
Bicycling out west. What is it?
Summer cycling adventure.
Summer cycling adventure.
Stand by, Dr. Haney.
Okay. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alvin Haney, and he's giving us some information in reference to some of his summer cycling adventure. And let us see if we can pick up, AJ, and talk about some of the other activities. And I think we have some images that we want to project on the screen, dealing with some still photos and et cetera.
Right. The third leg of my trip was after I left the Fuller Center, kind of going back home. So, of course, I had to go through South Dakota, and that's where we see Mount Rushmore, and I was able to stay in Spearfish, South Dakota, and meet some great people there. I was able to go to North Dakota, and there we see Fargo and Moorhead. In North Dakota, that Fargo is right on the border of Minnesota, so I was able to cycle in 2 states there, and I was able to cover 2 birds with 1 stone. Same thing with Iowa and Nebraska. I stayed in Omaha, Nebraska, and so therefore I was right there on the border with Iowa, so I kind of got 1 foot in each of those 2 states and was able to cover that particular area. From there, went on to Chicago, and one of the suburbs of Chicago is Oswego, and I was able to do cycling in kind of the Chicago suburbs as well, staying with relatives and just, you know, kind of seeing Lake Michigan and all of that. From there, went on to Michigan and Indiana. I was able to stay at South Bend, Indiana, which was on the border of Indiana and Michigan, kind of strategically placing those particular states where I could cycle in 2 states at once. So there's my completed map, or where I've done so far. I've covered 38 out of the 50 states. I only have the East Coast to do, and from what I hear from the future plans for the Fuller Center is that next year they are actually going to cycle the East Coast. So their plans for next summer are to have 2 different rides. The ride that they're going to do from Seattle, Washington down to Oceanside, California. So they're going to do the West Coast ride, and then of course they're going to you know, bring our supplies in van all the way across the country, and then they're going to start in Portland, Maine, and go down to Key West, Florida. So at some point in there, in the Portland, Maine to Key West, I should be able to cover 10 more of those states, bring me up to 48, leaving me with only Alaska and Hawaii before I've cycled in all 50 states. So that's where I'm headed.
And so your goal is to cycle in 50 of the continental United States of America, and so you've almost accomplished that in a real sense.
I'm very close. I started off with 25, and I got 13 new states, so I'm at 38, and really looking forward to, you know, trying to achieve my goal of having all 50 states. That's what I want to do.
Is there much competition among riders to see who can get to as many states as possible?
Well, there's camaraderie around riders.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
as far as locally, you know, I do know a few local cyclists who have done, you know, a lot of the states. I don't know of any that have done all 50, but if there's competition, then I hope I'm in there, or I'm part of that pack. You know, cycling, it has great health benefits. It's one of the things that, you know, I really love to do. Most cyclists, I would say, are former runners. You know, used to be a runner, and then when the knees give out or you've had a few surgeries, you turn into a cyclist. You ask the doctor, well, what should I do to, you know, keep my health up? And they say there's much less impact to cycle a bike. So I agree with that 100%, and that's what I do to stay in shape.
And so you've been riding not only with the Fuller Center, but you have also done quite a bit of riding with local groups in Tennessee, going to various places.
Yes,
Memphis. And say something about
I belong
that.
to a couple local cycling clubs. One of them, one that I actually founded, is the Domestiques Cycling Club, and we're based out here out of Nashville. We do charity rides. We participate weekly, where we're you know, just going out and getting our exercise for the day. So we have rides on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You know, usually the weekday rides are 20 miles or less, and you know, you'd be surprised that 20 miles may sound like a lot, especially if you're thinking about running 20 miles, but on a bicycle, 20 miles, you know, could take you an hour, hour and a half or so, and you know, the benefits, you know, are just exorbitant. So with our 20-mile weekly rides, and then on the weekends, we tend to go 50 miles plus, you know, 70, 80 miles would, you know, might be a typical weekend ride, especially once, you know, June and July hit, and we've had, you know, since March to, you know, train up to those amount of mileages. So I do that with them as a way, you know, again, to kind of support the community. We invite everybody to come along and ride with our cycling club, and it's something that, you know, I think you would enjoy.
What are some of the most important things that you remember from your rides all over the nation here? I mean, talk about some of those most important experiences that you've had.
Okay, well, with my rides, again, the charity aspect is definitely something, you know, that I believe strongly in, as far as giving back to the community, helping people with their housing. But for me personally, it's seeing the people who are willing to be there to help us. When we do these charity rides, we stay at local churches, we stay in school gyms, we stay at the community center, and there's always people there who are willing to give of their time. A lot of times they cook meals for us, so they're willing to cook for us, and just find joy in that, and just meeting the people across the country who are, you know, so willing to give and so helpful, and, you know, wanting to help people who are helping others. It makes them feel part of the cycle. It definitely encourages and you know, lifts us up, and, you know, gives us what we need as far as being able to, you know, sustain our bodies and, you know, do the physical demands of riding an average of 80 miles a day. So it's really just the people. The people really mean a lot to me, as far as them being there to help, wanting to give, wanting to assist us with our mission.
And so you would advise people who might be interested in what you're doing, what would you advise them to do? And how would they be able to assist you?
Okay, well, I did set up a GoFundMe site, and I believe the address will appear on the end result here. So the GoFundMe, and it's Haney Cycling, I believe, or Haney Cyclist is what you would search for. And again, I had to raise donations for the Fuller Center, raise donations for Tennessee State University, so that could definitely be a big help as far as those missions, you know, being successful. So the donations help, the well wishes help, the fact that, you know, I have people along the way as I post on social media, you know, the images you saw and more, and, you know, what I'm doing daily, them just giving me a thumbs up or a like, or giving me a comment like, you go, or keep it up. Really mean a lot as far as, you know, helping me achieve what I need to do.
And you've made quite a number of friends in that kind of activity among those who you ride with.
Definitely. As I was riding in Omaha, I actually, you know, just riding along the street and rode next to another cyclist, and, you know, found out that he has a similar mission, that he, you know, the week after I ran into him, that he was starting a bike ride where he started in Oregon, and he's going all the way, you know, across to Philadelphia. And so, you know, meeting other people with similar interests, similar, you know, views, and similar, you know, need to help people, that means a lot.
You know, AJ, I think that this is an extraordinary activity that you're taking part of, and that you ultimately wish to ride in all 50 of the continental United States, and you've almost covered many of them, and you really think that you can, in the end, cover all of the states.
Well, I had to come up with another goal. So again, coast to coast is done, so the 50 states is next, and, you know, who knows what's after that? I guess I got to take it internationally.
Do you find folks interested in riding in Alaska and Hawaii or whatever? I mean,
there are people there. I found that out last summer. I didn't know that there were people in Maine until I got there. So if there's people there, there's a cyclist there. So cyclists are interested in getting the work done.
And people become all hyped up in reference to this
sir.
activity, and they generally want to take part in it, and there's a great camaraderie between people who ride bicycles.
I'm always encouraging people in our club and people that I run into to, you know, come out and learn about cycling, learn about, you know, what it takes to, you know, ride in a group. It's, you know, different than just, you know, your Sunday stroll down to the grocery store. But, you know, again, it's a worthwhile activity, and you can help some people along the way.
And AJ, let me thank you over the last half minute that we have for giving us that excellent information in addition to the photographs that you've shown us today. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.